follows me will have the light of life and will never walk in darkness. Lord Jesus, you also said that there were two or three come together in your name. You are there with them. The light of this candle symbolizes your presence among us. And Lord Jesus, where you are, there too are the Father and the Holy Spirit. So we begin our meeting in the presence in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen. All right.
Can't use this.
This week we're working of the Good Samaritan, and I hope you've taken the time to read, or maybe just to read it and get some ideas of what you think. So Sheila, let's just start with you.
No, let's not. Let's go that direction over there.
Okay, Dave, we'll go with you then. Let me read the parable first. That way, everybody knows what we're talking about, okay? In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, okay? And Jesus answering said, a certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who both stripped him and going down the same way, and seeing him pass by. In like manner also a Levite coming to the place and seeing him pass by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, being on his journey, came by him, and seeing him was moved with compassion. And going up to him, bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and setting him up on his own beast, brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 shillings, gave them to the host, and said, take care of him, and whatever you shall spend over and above, I at my return 3, and I opinion proved to be a neighbor to him that fell among the robbers. But he said, he that showed mercy to him. And Jesus said to him, go and do thou in like manner. Okay, so that's the parable, that's the story. Let me give you a little bit of history before we start here, because the early fathers tell us, and we talked this before as we're going through the parables, that sometimes Christ uses actual experiences, something that actually took place, somebody in the community would have known. This is another one of those parables that everybody would, especially the Pharisees. The Pharisees, the Sadducees would have known this story. They all would have known because they all would have been talking about it. You know, somehow or another they would have tried to figure out a way to justify themselves why they could walk by a man who's laying there half dead and bleeding and everything else. Church fathers tell us, as much as it's a parable, it's also based on a reality of an experience. So,
my perspective with about how we should be treating everyone, not just the person who is situation, and regardless whether there are eyes on you or not, God is always watching us, and so it's about being kind to our fellow man.
yeah, and to have no excuses. You know, you can imagine for a moment, you know, you're a Levite, maybe you're going to the temple, the priest were coming from the service of God, one was heading to the service of God. How much compassion does it take for a human being to just walk by? And then to somehow justify that before God. I don't know. Really is a reminder that mercy must extend to all people. And it isn't just about the person laying in a ditch. It's about the person who's in a different skin color. A person has a different religion. A person speaks a different language. A person who's a little bit. If you look for an opportunity to help somebody today, every day, God will give you that opportunity. If it just means for a moment, talking, taken away from, because they need somebody to speak to. And today I could be that person for them. Okay?